Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Tonight, we'd like to have a catch up on what is happening with the ZiG, the new Zimbabwe Gold Currency, backed by the gold. Well, as you can see from the screen, the Minister of Finance has come up with new rules. Now, you are not allowed to increase your price. Take, for instance, if you price your goods in US dollars, $1, and the customer offers to pay you in ZiG, you're supposed to change the price to ZiG at the official exchange rate. So at the present moment, the official exchange rate is $1 is 13.73 ZiG. So you can sell your item at that price. The only problem is, of course, the black market has got its own price. On the black market, you may find, which is strongly suspected, that the ZiG will lose its value. So you may find the ZiG on the black market you need 20 ZiGs to buy $1. And this becomes a problem for the supplier, because if you've got to go and restock using US dollar, and you have to get your US dollar on the black market, you're running at a loss. This is just price control by the back door, Benjamin.
I agree with you. This is price control. I mean, when you are saying an official rate, you need to expand on that and tell us how that rate is come to be. I mean, it's backed by gold. Are we then going to be taking the price of gold on that particular day, and then convert it into ZiG, and then convert it back into the US dollar? That is how it's supposed to work if it's backed by, if it's actually backed by gold. And gold prices, the price of gold yesterday was totally different from the price of gold today. So how then does their official rate get stuck in the same position? Neither does it lose value, nor does it gain. I think
the official exchange rate will change. It's not that it's going to be fixed forever. It has always been changing. But what has always lagged behind is the official exchange rate has always lagged behind the black market.
If it lags behind, because you know what happens? I believe the black market actually deals more. It's actually more closer to the real rate than this one, the official. So then you get a question to say, which one is more official? And who says this one is the right one? You see, well, okay, that day is very subjective. But here we are in a situation where you have created an environment where you have said, when it comes to trading with, or exchanging the ZiG, it's willing buyer, willing seller. I have my ZiG, you have your US dollar. And we meet and we discuss an exchange rate, and it suits me and it suits you, and we transact. Does that then become, illegal?
Well, that is another aspect. But in this particular one, when you're talking of traders trading in goods and services, if you're charging it in US dollars, you should charge in ZiG at the official exchange rate. That is what he's saying. But that is price control. The problem with that is that, of course, like I said, if the exchange rate, which is most likely between the ZiG and the US dollar, is different on the official exchange rate and black market. And let's face it, most people have found that when you want the Forex, going to the bank, they will tell you they do not have the Forex, period. Indeed, even some of those people, we have got a foreign denominated account, they'll tell you, oh, today we don't have the US dollar. So you can't even withdraw the money you deposited yourself. But worst of all is the individual who has got the ZiG, who goes there and says, okay, I want to buy some US dollars at the official exchange rate. They'll be told, we don't have the US dollar. And if you're desperate enough to buy, to get the US dollar because you've got to restock, then you've got to go on the black market. And the black market could be 10 times. And if you're going to sell your goods at the official exchange rate, then of course, you are the one who is running at a loss. And it's not sustainable. And so many companies will definitely close. And therefore, then there will be a shortage of that particular commodity. And the black market itself, the pressure for the black market to arise will be enormous. Because as long as the demand is there, the people in the black market will find other ways of supplying it to meet that demand. So you're not stifling black market. All you're doing is just increasing the black market rate. We have been down this road before, which is what is annoying here, where we are now introducing price controls by the back door. It didn't work in the past, and it will not work this time. All we are doing is we are creating shortage and encouraging the black market.
Yes, I agree with you. I as a retailer or as a wholesaler or supplier, no one would want to sell their wares at a loss, right? It's either hedging now has been closed, so the only way for them to actually keep or stay alive is by creating artificial shortages or selling it to the black market. Because I mean, that is, if you do it the unofficial way, you get the profit, the US dollar that you want. I mean, we like you said, we've been down this road before, and now worse off, you have got these so-called tax shops which offer premium if you pay in US dollar than for you to pay in ZiG. And these are unofficial, right? They're just going to be, I mean, all wholesalers would give them, because at least they are safer for now, rendering okay, and the big supermarkets or the big chains to struggle and stay afloat. And once they see that they're struggling, they just simply just halve their shelves and minimize the loss until a certain period where things start stabilizing. So it's a vicious cycle. I don't know why they cannot learn from their mistake. I thought they were saying they were better than the Mugabe era, but now we are just seeing that they were part and parcel of that Mugabe era.
Yeah, and another measure that they are trying to adopt here is to try to stop the ZiG losing its value against the foreign currency, is to stop the trend of the ZiG. They've now come up with the rules that makes it a criminal offense for somebody to trade in currency. I think this is totally it's lawlessness at its worst. If the ZiG and the US dollar are legal tenders in a country, which in the case of Zimbabwe they are, if you have got US dollars and I've got the ZiG, and I come to you and say, well, I need some US dollar, and we agree on at what exchange rate, I don't see how anyone can turn around and say what we are doing is illegal. How is that illegal? Both currencies are legal tender. It's just that I so happen to need more foreign currency than, and you don't need it. You know, for most of your trade, you find maybe you could buy whatever you want with the ZiG. So I give you the ZiG at whatever exchange rate we agree on, and you give me the US dollar. Why that is being criminalized beggars belief. But this is a desperate attempt by the regime to stop the black market trading of in currency. Let's just listen to this a short clip of Chris Mutsvangwa explaining that very point.
What am I saying? I'm saying to those who want to run down the ZiG, vachitrader and giving it a false value, vari kuseri kwe-Holiday Inn hotel, our security apparatus yakabva muhondo will be alert this time. We want to ask you kuti chaikupa prize waiwane.
What do you think of that, Ben?
I mean, you can never stop a trade. Trading happens. It happens all over. I mean, you know, it's even in court. Even if you were to be taken to court, it's pretty simple because it is their narrative that actually said willing buyer, willing seller. If I want to give you or to sell you my US dollars at a giveaway, let's say, you know, less than the official rate, is there a problem with that? There's nothing. If I want to make it higher because you are desperate, is there a problem with that? No, it's not. There's no problem. I think, you know, they can try by all means to you can arrest people for now, but there is absolutely no case that will ever hold in terms of law, because the same statement that you said is the one that is going to be upheld, because you know, government itself has instructed people to willing seller, willing buyer, and there is no stipulation now of the official rate. This is why I was asking to say, then what becomes the official rate if you are willing seller, willing buyer, or willing buyer, willing seller? You've just destroyed the official rate. So what Chris is saying, I think, you know, it's, if you go to somebody that has money and you want it, and it tells you, you know, this is the money, this is the price that you have to pay for it. If you don't want, you walk away. You don't ask me, why did you make it that much? That's what I want. Because I'm a willing seller. Are you willing to buy? You're not willing to buy, then go away. Simple.
Well, the truth of the matter is, of course, if you are in government and you make the rules, you can always make it something that should be, on the face of it, a normal transaction, a criminal transaction. So they have come up with rules and saying that those who are going to trade in currency must have the license to do so, etc., etc. So yes, they are going to police it, but all that is done also is squeeze how many people can be involved in that money trading activity. And in this particular case, we know that the trading will continue. It's just that there will be only a select few who can. And most of those will be those who have got the right political connections. They can continue trading. And even if the police arrest them, they will only need a phone call from some of these high-ranking ruling elite to say, release him, and the police will release him or her. So it's just another way of cornering the market. That's all that has happened in the past. I think what makes this story even more interesting is Chris Mutsvangwa is the one who is promoting this idea, even talking of the deployment of the Green Bombers, the ZANU-PF militia, to arrest those who trade in the forex. And now it turns out that his own son has been arrested. That makes it really interesting.
Well, I don't think it's really interesting. I think it's just a matter of, we've been here before. It's catch and release. This is what it is. Shake, shake the market a little bit, show that, there are arrests that are being made, even high profile arrests, and then let them go. Surely if you can let go, I mean, what he's been found with 3,000 and something US dollar, point of sale, machine, cards, bank cards. Anybody can have as much bank cards as you want, as long as you can put money in it. It's okay. I don't see any problem. There is nothing that will. Surely, if you can let somebody that had $10 million in his house and walk away with the 10 million, that example is Ignatius Chobo. Then you want to arrest somebody with 3,000 and you say you've got a case. I just think that is just nonsense. It will never even hold anyway. Anybody can trade now. Trading has gone globally. You don't even need to have an office. So he's got every right, to have all those things and to trade. You don't have to register in Zimbabwe for you to trade. So I think the case, the state has got absolutely no case. And that's why Chris and his wife are not even worried.
Well, I would not be too sure of that, because you must remember we are talking about ZANU-PF here. You may be protected by the regime today, and tomorrow, if you fall out with those higher up, you are in serious trouble. That is the nature of the beast. As it turns out, the young man was at the magistrate court today, and the catch and release did not happen because he's going to spend the whole weekend in jail, and his bailout hearing will continue on Monday. So It will not be surprising at all if he finds himself in a situation where, particularly given his father's outspokenness on the issue of Mnangagwa aspiring for a third term, and also for him to build his own dynasty. That could be the issue here. It could now become political. The crime itself is others have committed worse crimes. I totally agree with that. But that is the problem with a regime where rule of law is the whim of the individual.
I mean, we have been through this here before. I do not see any. There is absolutely no case here. Look, we had Ignatius Chombo, who was incarcerated for, was on remand for quite some time, and he still got his money back. There was this lady, I forgot her name, who was taken by the Anti-Corruption Commission. She is out. And this year, they have never arrested anybody. They just catch you, shake the market a bit, shake, the individuals that are acting, that are near corruption, and it's all just, for show. Ain't nobody that is going to be arrested. Let's names start falling. This is the problem when you're the big boss and the youngsters know how you are dealing. I'll give you an example. These same youngsters are the same youngsters that were being sent to go and buy the US dollar from the market when Zimbabwe had no foreign currency. So they know how this whole thing operates through them, the big guys. RBZ used to buy money from the black market. They used to print money, go and buy from the black market through these youngsters. And they set up these youngsters. Now, the youngsters are not stopping. How do you stop them when you were part and parcel of the group? You see, this is where the problem lies. So it's all for show. Because the more you start digging deeper into this, you start uncovering, you have just uncovered Mnangagwa's son. Then you have to close that case. It's a no-go area. You have, somebody's relative that is very close, you have to close. This is why ZiG is not being able to arrest anybody. It's so complicated. ZANU-PF, the top officials, let's not forget, these are relatives. They are somehow related to each other. So you cannot go then and let somebody that is your relative wallow in prison, whilst you are also part and parcel of that deal. It can never happen.
Well, this is a video of him. That he will spend the weekend behind bars. I think the important message here is that political influence in Zimbabwe is not something that we can say is guaranteed. Let's not forget here that there are people like Professor Jonathan Moyo, Xavier Kasukuwere, who have had to run away from the country because they fell out. There are some other political leaders, ZANU-PF political leaders, who are still in the country, but when they fell out with the regime, they found themselves completely left out and in serious economic hardships. Notably, Didmas Mutasa. when he found himself in the wrong basket in 2014, within a few months of losing the protection of the party, he was in serious economic trouble. I think you may be right. Maybe Neville will be released next week and the whole thing will be quashed. But it should not be forgotten that ZANU-PF is a party of thugs. And it is just as ruthless to some of its own former party members as it is ruthless to the rest of us ordinary mortals. And I think the message that must be sent out here is particularly people like Chris Mutsvangwa, the young man's father. He has been outspoken in defense of ZANU-PF, corrupt and tyrannical rule all these last 44 years. Now the flame is burning closer at home. Maybe he should seriously think about it. And there are many others out there who have supported the regime blindly because they thought they were benefiting. The regime is as ruthless as ever. If you fall out with the regime, you join us, the ordinary mortals, who have been at the coalface of this failed regime. Zimbabwe is a failed state. Millions of ordinary Zimbabweans have suffered for it. And I think it is important that we never lose sight of that. Just because you are in position of power and authority, don't ever think that you can carry that through all your life, own to your own children so that they become privileged as well, etc., etc. Even people like Mugabe himself. Yes, he was lucky that Mnangagwa came into power. But even then, some of his assets like Gushungo Farm collapsed within a few months of him being booted out of office. Yes, the regime has not gone after some of the looted wealth, some of those farms that the daughter and her husband were fighting over. But you can be rest assured that if there'd been any animosity between the so-called Second Republic and the Mugabes, they would have been after them. We don't have to look very far. People like Xavier Kasukuwere, they've lost their farms. The regime has been after them. Others, like the former police commissioner, Augustine Chuhuri, he found himself being chased to explain where he got the $32 million for some of his assets. This is a regime that does not respect the rule of law if it is not in its selfish interest. What we need as a country is a country where there is a rule of law, where if you commit a crime, it doesn't matter who you are. And if you have not committed a crime, you are entitled to the protection of the law. That is the country that we want. This culture that we can have some people who are above the law is nonsensical. And I seriously hope that as his son spends the weekend in jail, people like Chris Mutsvangwa will seriously reflect on their contribution in creating this tyrannical ZANU-PF dictatorship and defending it, because they now are paying the price for it. Thank you very much. Do you want to give your closing remarks, Ben?
Yeah, in closing, I would say, you know, it's rather unfortunate where criminals can get away with absolutely anything. You know, such is the law that is in Zimbabwe. Like you said, you know, if you have done the crime, you must do the time. That does not apply in Zimbabwe. It's who you know, what are your political connections, you know, that is what will get you out of trouble, you know, most of the time. Yeah, so it's one to see, but you know, for Zimbabweans, I would say, you know, it's good that, you know, we follow these events, as these events are going to lead to or prepare us for change that is coming, because the more we see these tightenings of conditions, we need to start preparing for the worst. Because if you're going to start, you know, messing around with the exchange rate, and there's going to be a big parity between the official and the black market, there's going to be shortages. Some of these things here will affect our day-to-day lives. So by also knowing and staying tuned to, you know, what is happening in our country, we can take preventative measures if we can. So let's all just be prepared. Things are turning for the worst, as we can see. So it's just a friendly warning to my fellow countrymen.
Thank you very much, Benjamin. And for the listeners, thank you very much for being with us. Hope you'll be able to join us tomorrow. Like I said before, if you want to have your say, send me a comment and I can send you the link so that you can join in. Thanks again for joining us tonight. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.